Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
Yes. It would help if I had my microphone.
Failed.
No, I didn't
Failed.
fail. I went from one point without a microphone, and I transitioned to another point with a microphone.
Smooth recovery.
It was a smooth recovery. And
Now tell me you did that on purpose.
oh, no, it was an absolute mistake. But, you know, like when we talked with Mike Bidwell, and we talked about how old I am, and I can use that as an excuse now
That's
for
it.
stuff like this.
For the first time, I felt very young.
You should. You
Mi-
should.
Mike Bidwell, cool guy.
Yeah,
Cool
really
dude.
cool.
BJJAfter 40. If you don't know what it is, you should know. Everybody who does Jiu Jitsu should know what BJJAfter 40 is. Tons of free content on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's not the techniques on there aren't like if you're a young guy, go check this stuff out because it's not like things that only old men should be doing. You know?
It's very unorthodox.
It's really cool. I think
And
if
he
you
does-
like a lot of the new stuff that's out there, you're really gonna like his stuff too.
Mm-hmm. One of the big things that he talked about is transitions in life, transitions in jiu-jitsu, and their importance to our success. Well, let me, as I always do, let me spin this around to you. You know, life throws curveballs at us more often than not. I just experienced one just a couple hours ago.
I don't know.
It is what it is.
We'll talk in a moment.
It is what it is, but it's, you know, how we react to those situations and how do we convert ourselves from the point of now to the point of where we want to be is really dictates our success rate and really, you know, from attitude to the end result to you know, our sanity at times. And, you know, this whole thing kind of unfolds in these transitions, right? Those are often referred to as behaviors and how do we respond to situations, and is not what happened to you, but how you do it. There's a bunch of different cliche sayings, right? It's not how many times you get down, but how many times you get up and all the other things, right? It's all kind of about making action after the event that occurred to us. How do you deal with it on a personal level in real life? Let's take this off the mat for a moment.
Well, I often have said here, and it was something that I picked up at my last job when I took the R Factor training, but the only thing you can own is your response. And whether it's a transition that I'm purposefully making or something that's happened outside of my control, the only thing that I can really own is how I respond to these things. Do I appropriately, negatively, positively, with forethought, in the moment, all that stuff, right? How I respond to it is the only thing that I can own. And I've, over the years, since taking that class, is thought about, okay, for me, how it works is I got to stop because I'm very reactionary. So I have to stop, think about it, and weigh options, right? And sometimes it's very immediate, like, oh, I know what I was about to say. Say the opposite. And that's gonna be more beneficial for everybody involved. So that's the way I look at things, is like, how am I gonna respond in this situation, in this conversation, under these set of circumstances, and how is it gonna be beneficial for either me or the people involved, right? Sometimes it's not always about you. So you have to take other people into perspective. So,
But it feels so good to take that chair and throw it across the room.
I don't do that. But
It feels so good to say
Yeah,
all
but
these
then
words,
right.
and it feels so good to be angry because you have a reason to be.
have somebody set up a camera and watch it after you do it, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, I'm an asshole. That was totally inappropriate." You know, I think when I think about stuff like this or have a conversation like this, I always think about my kids and how I react to my kids. And it is not, I am not above apologizing when I make a mistake to my children. I handled that wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Let's talk about it. Let's make it better.
Is that only for your kids or for everybody else? Because I'm yet to hear you ever say sorry.
The only time I say sorry to you is So as I was saying about my kids,
nice transition.
yeah,
Yeah.
but so so I think throwing the chair, swearing, saying the mean stuff, telling somebody that you're wrong. What were you thinking? Why would you do that? All that stuff. It doesn't make anything better. It really doesn't. And I don't, how can we make this better? Oh, well, now that we'll go back to cliches, there's no use crying over spilled milk. So it's like, all right, there's nothing we can do about it now except how we handle it.
I never heard that before.
You've never heard no use crying over spilled milk. You've never heard that.
This is the first time.
All right. Well, you know what it means, right? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The milk's on the table. It's on the floor. There's nothing you could do about it except clean it up.
I'm much younger, and I don't have as much experience as you do.
No,
if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you got to listen to Mike Bidwell episodes.
Yes.
So how do you deal with this on the mat? Right? Because the application is slightly different.
It depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about like the transition through one move to another, a transition from being on bottom to reversing and getting on top or side or whatever?
No, I'm talking about transitions between the situations. I'm not talking about the literal transition from top to bottom. I'm talking about a mental state between two different positions, between two different situations, two different circumstances.
That's the same way I do, like I was just saying. I got to think about it. I've got to think about my response to it and how is it going to be beneficial. Excuse me. We talked in Mike's episode about that little chirp that goes in the back of your head about, I got a lot to do today. I'm not going to go to open mat. Mm-hmm. I've got A, B, and C to get through, but then I made that choice to show up. And even though I got my butt handed to me for an hour, there were small victories, and I got up, changed, and as I was walking out the door, said to myself, "I'm so that was awesome." I think those were the words I used. That was awesome. I'm so happy I came, And then I saw myself in my rearview mirror and saw my hair, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to fix that." Because, like I said, I got my butt handed to me for an hour. So that's how I handle it, though. I have to process everything. And sometimes you don't have the availability to process and you make the wrong decision, whatever. But think about it afterwards and process it.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. Sometimes we don't have the time or ability to process this at this moment, but we still have time and opportunity to process this period. We can process this later, and we can create a situation where this circumstance does not happen again.
Yes.
So we don't have, the transition doesn't have to take place at this moment right now. We can actually learn a lesson from it.
Yeah.
And not allow that to happen later, or if it does happen later, that's when we can react accordingly and make the transition at that time. I think one of the points that Mike was making was the lessons. We never learn the lesson while it's happening. We learn the lesson in retrospect, thinking about it later, right? And that's kind of what I'm referring to at this particular moment. Do you think that these transitions in our mind, how we convert between these different situations, is that useful to jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, if you feel, maybe an easy way to think about it is like in a plateau. Why am I at this plateau? How do I get out of this plateau? What's working for me, what isn't? So really processing it, thinking about it, picking it apart, dissecting it, rather than, I'm not getting any better. This sucks. It was another open mat where I didn't tap anybody out, and I got submitted 4 times by this one dude, and A, B, and C. Reflect on it and really pick it apart to figure out how you can solve this problem. And isn't that what you do in jiu-jitsu? There's a counter for everything, right? They say in jiu-jitsu. Well, how did that come about? Because somebody got submitted, got swept, their guard got passed, and they decided to figure out how so they could shut it down the next time. And it's for me, it's the same way. Not that I ever shut down anybody trying to pass my card.
We talked about confidence too,
Yes.
but
That's another episode.
Gary fell asleep on that part of the episode. Do you think understanding why things happen is important as part of that transition period?
Absolutely. Why did I not get a promotion? And I'm talking off the mats about that one. Why didn't I get a promotion? Why did the girl break up with me? But
I think even so, why didn't I get promotion? That is often asked question even on the mat.
Sure.
You know,
there's a million different reasons. It could be because you're not showing up enough. Your skill level could be there, but you're just not showing up. You're not putting in the effort. You know, some people don't want to give a promotion to somebody who shows up every once in a while, even though that somebody is a fantastic athlete and is mopping the floor with everybody, because they're not putting in the time. They're not putting in the effort. They're not learning anything new. It could be because, you're not quite ready yet. We talked about how sometimes a promotion, after you get it, now you feel responsible for it, right? So you're not looking at it like, I deserve this. After you get it, you're like, okay, now I really have to earn it. Mm-hmm. I got it. Now it means something. I have responsibility to it.
So how do we get to the point of having this transition smoothly? Mike talked about things like, having a square and rounding out the corners,
right,
for it to become a circle eventually. That's the smooth transition.
Uh-huh. I think that it comes with experience. So the more if you know that your personality, you're a reactionary type of person, and you can stop that in the moment, well, that's one way, right? If that's how you are outside of the mats, and that's how you are on the mats, he talked about, and this happens to me all the time, is, man, you want to quit because you can't breathe. You're getting smashed. Every time you exhale, you can't get any air in, right? And it's just that compression, and you want to tap just from the pressure, but you're like, why do I want to tap? I want to tap because I can't breathe. Well, why can't I breathe? Because I'm flat on my back and somebody's sitting on top of me, right? Well, now I got an elbow in. Now I'm on my shoulder, right? And you talk about this in the fundamentals classes all the time, that now your frame is carrying the weight. Your skeleton is carrying the weight. It's not crushing your lungs. So yeah, absolutely. If you know the why, and you can figure it, and you can take a moment, even though you can't breathe, but take a moment to breathe and figure out the why of just that. Not how do I submit this guy while I'm still on bottom being crushed. It's how do I get a little bit of air in me, mm-hmm, right? And then you do that, and that leads to something else, and that leads to something else, and then you've gone through that transition where very early in the very beginning of it, you wanted to give up.
Yeah, I think the big summary after conversation with Mike and our chat right now, in my mind at least, is that we all got something to work on. We all got places to improve. And working on these transitions, how we recover, the action, not even recovery, but the action that we take after each of those circumstances is a critical point. And really, there's no way of improving it until we actually practice this. Mm-hmm. This is where, on the mat, we talk about things like drilling and flowing, no resistance, really understanding what the process of transition is between the positions. In life, it might be really thinking about these circumstances that we found ourselves in, and how can we react, about these circumstances differently the next time that it happens, or perhaps reflecting on the reaction that we had and see, whether it was good or not. Could we be smarter about this? Could we be better? And it all leads into growth. I think that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. It all leads into growth, and we all growing, whether we like it or not. We all growing. The question is, are we growing in the right direction? Are we growing to what we want to be?
Yeah.
Or we are kind of defaulting into something that, might not be the ideal person of me.
Yeah. Very wise. And, it's something that Mike talked about too, is, he had to become himself. And what does that mean? Well, he was already like, I don't want to make it sound like some hippie thing or anything like that, but it was like, who do you want to be?
Right.
How do you get there? And that's really what it all is. And it's like, who do you want to be in life? Who do you want to be on the mat? Who do you want to be with your kids, work, whatever? Okay, how do I get there? How do I make that transition, right? And it's by thinking about it and dissecting it and work and, planning it out, whatever it takes. It's not going to happen unless you take action.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. What a great episode. What a great conversation. We'll continue working and bringing you guys those phenomenal conversations with different personalities in Jiu-Jitsu. In the meanwhile, shall we wrap this up?
Yeah, I guess so. Let's finish.
On to the next one.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.